is that after making a mistake, we need to face up to it. We need to tell the truth. That is integrity, telling the truth and honoring promises no matter the consequences.
They call me a god. 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 Let's go. I'm about to go off like a weapon. Fuel to the top, got a filled up engine. In my thoughts, obsession. I will not stop, no, I'm never second guessing. I got a God complex. Haters love to hate, but I never feel pressed. Got a lot on my plate, but I never get stressed. I'll take all the pressure like I'm acing this test. Oh! Tear it up like I'm Jason. I see the world like it's ready for the taking. I see this place like a game I'm playing. Straight to the bank to collect my payments. No negotiations, it's my way, I was born impatient. And like a damn Freemason, I'll run this nation. You call me a god. 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 I don't know how to stop. I just go till I drop. Whether it's working or shots, give it all that I got. You can watch me work in my element. Anyone in the way is irrelevant. You wanna cross me, cool, not intelligent. Cause I don't forget shit like an elephant. Go ahead and tempt me. Put it on the line and you'll come up empty. If I got time, I'm deadly. Never caught off guard, no, I'm always ready. I got a hand real steady. Look me in the eye and you'll see no hezzy. About to get real messy. I'll put you in a grid 6 feet like Kenny. You call me a god. You call me a god. You call me a god.
I'm called of God. Called of God. And Tim Ballard told me he'd been called of God. Some wild-eyed prophet like...
Love me tender, love me sweet, never let me go. You have made my life complete, and I love you.
Hey everybody, how are you doing? How's it going? Well, there was a hearing today. Actually, there is a hearing today. It's just not within our sight or our hearing, our ears. So I apologize. It's not my fault though, if I must say. For once, it's not my fault. Me and Donna, I thought we were live, but I didn't look. And so I thought I like read the order and everything. And she was like, I was wondering why you were reading pretty good. Anyway, so we'll go ahead and read that order that obviously came out way after I gathered my information to do this live. And let's see. How y'all doing? Good to see you guys here. Happy Friday. Welcome, welcome. Okay, so I'm not going to share my screen because I'm already over here. But it's really short too. It was filed yesterday, 3/7/2024 at 9:42:54. Whatever, for what it's worth, right? It doesn't say. I guess that's military time. Maybe it was in the morning. We didn't see it. It says in the District Court of the 7th Judicial District of the State of Idaho, in and for the County of Fremont, State of Idaho versus Chad Guy Daybell. Case number CR 22-21-1623. Order. Closing, hearing, and sealing the record. On March 8, 2024, the court will call for hearing several motions filed March 4, 2024. It says pursuant to ICAR 32, the court finds that hearing will reference information that is expressly exempt from public disclosure. It says to see SEE ICAR 32G26. Okay, and then it says additionally, the court has reviewed the motions and entered orders temporarily sealing them, finding that public disclosure at this time could jeopardize the parties' rights to a fair trial under ICAR 32I-2E. Okay, and it kind of repeats itself. It says, accordingly, the court determines the closure of the hearing and sealing of the record is necessary. Why? In order to protect individual privacy rights and interests, and to preserve the parties' rights to a fair trial. And such action is no broader than necessary to protect this fundamental right at this time. Signed, Judge Stephen Boyce, the 7th day of March, 2024. So, your guess is as good as mine. Now, I'm going to, let me think of the name of the channel. I never get it right. It was the Paranormal Sisters, Christy and, oh, hell. Anyways, they're two sisters from Idaho Falls area, Rexburg area, and they usually attend the trials, right? Or the hearings.
Krisha, it's True Crime Squad.
Okay, True Crime Squad. Thank you. And okay, so I happened upon, I think it was just Christy. I hope I'm getting that right. Christy and Katie, that's their names. All right, let me type it in first so I can at least pull this up. Because, and I hope they don't mind me sharing this with y'all. And I mean, it's just to kind of let you know what my understanding was of everything. Because I look to you guys and a lot of creators. I've always done this. Whether I've had one, whether I've had somebody to depend on that would, help me kind of understand these things and help me keep up with this process, because I mean, it requires a whole freaking team, army of people just to keep up with everything, right? That has nothing to do with running a channel. That's just keeping up with the info. So what I learned from watching the other day, the True Crime, that's hard to say, True Crime Squad. Let's see. I'm looking for, there it is. Well, I'm at least going to jump to their channel and then I'll swing from there. So if anybody has not subscribed to them, I would suggest that you do. I don't need Apple. I'm sorry. All right. Let me put YouTube so I can be specific. And I just like the take that they approached the other day on this. So let me find it real quick. Thank you for being patient and understanding. Okay. Nope. I feel silly right now. Hold on. Oh, there it is. Okay. I'm like, what? Because I know that it's hard to kind of tell by their titles. Sometimes they just say Wednesday night updates, and I'm like, what? So for anybody who's joining us right now that is like, where's the hearing? Where's the hearing? That's what it says on the title and the thumbnail. Well, there is a hearing. We're just not invited to it. Okay. It's something we should be kind of used to. It's been a while, I think. But again, this has to do with the expert witness that was used allegedly before in January of 2021, whenever Mark Means, the defense attorney for Lori Vallow at the time, Lori Vallow Daybell, let's not ever drop that Daybell name. She was actually Mark Means and John Pryor, which is Chad Daybell's defense attorney, were trying to kick Rob Wood, which is the special prosecuting attorney in both cases, Lori and Chad's. They tried to kick him off of the case because, I don't know, he was a potential witness for, I guess, the questionable way that Rob Wood may have or may not have conducted, I'm trying to word this right, an interview with Summer Shiflett, which was defendant Lori Vallow's sister. Okay. And the way, I guess, and I remember this, I was there actually. That's when I met Rob Wood and the rest of the detectives there in Idaho. But I remember, hold on, I just kind of lost my train of thought. But anyways, so it has something to do with that expert witness. His name is Dr. Davidson. And it's funny though, and I say it's funny, it's par for the course, I guess you could say, that that John Pryor would want to be potentially, this is just from reading between the lines, and also from what the True Crime Squad said the other day, as they're reading through the lines as well, which is what we have to do a lot, especially in cases like this, in instances like this, whenever they do seal the documents. And we're just kind of like, oh, okay, well, what do we make of it? So we just kind of look and see what is available, and it can or cannot be. So we don't know for sure, but it could potentially be that John Pryor is trying to introduce this expert witness for Chad's trial, the same expert witness, Dr. Davidson, that spoke on behalf of Mark Means, John Pryor, and allegedly Lori Vallow, Daybell at the time, and Chad Daybell, to disqualify Prosecutor Rob Wood. I guess, it was mainly the way he talked to Summer Shiflett in the LDS speak. Okay. That's when he was like, okay, I know I'm kind of using LDS speak here, and it kind of, this kind of came crashing down on me whenever I was filtering through all this information, right? Again, so this is time 2. This is the second time we're having to process the same information, right? I mean, Judge Boyce has already ruled on it, 2021, and he was like, no go, obviously, because we still have special prosecutor Rob Wood, and he is not a potential witness, as far as we know, as far as right now, in Chad Daybell's trial. Okay. So it's interesting though, because we have the same problem, or the same occurrence that happens a lot with these people. The people I've had to study, or kind of learn more than probably anybody really wants to about, so different people that make up this large circle of people around Chad and Lori Daybell. Well, it's this calling dropping is what they call it. So it's like, okay, hey, it's okay to listen to me. I'm authority. And I mean, me, Mel, it's kind of like that same rhetoric. Nancy James, I've seen in screenshots that she allegedly had posted around Facebook for sure. Where she's just like, when somebody doubts or wants to discredit anything that she's saying, they double down and they say, they drop a calling. Well, so and so is my grandfather, great grandfather's. He was a patriot. Just all the things, right? And so it's like calling dropping. It's another way of getting credibility to your argument, or to whatever the hell you're trying to prove. It's an authoritative kind of thing. So it is a little sketch to me that, I mean, I don't personally see anything wrong with it, but looking at it through this lens, ethically why, I'm not a professional, obviously. This is just my take of how I see things. And, if you're a special prosecutor, you travel down to Arizona and you're not expected to be on recording, yet, there's that grimy ass attorney over there that's already been sued civilly by Brandon Boudreaux for defamation and everything. and won in court $12 million potentially. If they ever have to pay that, that's between them and their God, you know. But Brennan still won the case. And that proved that Garrett Smith, who represents, by the way, at that time for sure, was Melanie Pulowski, Summer Shiflett, and Zulema Pastinas. Okay, that's 3 of this cauldron. Okay, so I mean, I'd say that's quite a bit. The 3's a crowd, right? Well, anyways, I think I'm just rambling at this point. So there is a hearing. Again, we weren't expecting it to be sealed and closed to the public. But as per Judge Boyce's orders on 3/7/2024, oh my God, I'm recalling stuff from my memory. Write it down. Anyways. Okay, so let me pull up the True Crime Squad, and I'll just share a little piece of how I learned about it. Let's see. Okay. Alrighty. So again, if anybody is not subscribed to these ladies, they really are a resourceful I don't know, what do I call it? Resourceful. They're very resourceful ladies. There you go. And they report very factual, accurate, up to date information. So let's just hear what she has to say. I might have to fast forward a little bit.
I'm Christy Brower, and I am here by myself. I am holding down the fort this week because Katie is off at a softball tournament with her daughter. And I will say she is very lucky because she's in Arizona where it's nice and warm, and she is missing snowpocalypse here in Idaho. Another one.
That's funny.
We got about a foot probably of snow in the city, many more in the mountains. And my prosecution submitting some presented at trial, and whether or not these various people are going to be allowed and this evidence be allowed. So we've got the defense and the prosecution submitting some of these motions, trying to keep certain evidence in or out of the trial. And this is the first time we've really seen much out of this case in a bit.
Yeah.
After the ruling on not dropping the death penalty, things have gotten fairly quiet, but this is some big stuff. So I'm going to share some screenshots with you.
I'll just have to say it's always quiet before the storm, right? Gross. Like Rotting Jules, the channel creator on YouTube, she says, "Gag me, what a pitchfork." It's funny.
So that you can see what we're talking about, what I'm talking about here. So, of course, there are a bunch of motions to seal. So they're sealing all of these because they have everything to do with evidence that will be presented at trial. So they are protecting the jury pool at this point. So we have a motion to seal the state's motion in limine and brief in support to motion to exclude defense expert James Davidson. So keep that name in your mind. I'm going to talk to you about him. And a brief in support of motion to exclude defense expert James Davidson in relation to recording. Okay. Wow. So I'm going to tell you about that in just a second. You're going to remember what this recording is. So to seal the state's motion in limine and brief in support of motion for introduction of statement of Tammy Daybell. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know what that is. That was not ever submitted in Lori's trial. I've never seen them argue over a statement made by Tammy. I don't know if this is the Facebook post about when someone she thought was shooting a paintball gun at her, if this was a private conversation with a family member or a friend.
Okay, I'm gonna go grab it real quick.
I don't know.
Let's see. I don't want to use too much of her video. I will put that link in the chat. Let me speed it up just a little bit. I hope you don't mind, Christy. If so, let me know. I will find a way to edit it and remove it. I still don't know how, but I will learn. Okay, what am I doing? Okay. Sorry, guys.
Be interesting because, you know, of course, Chad is charged with first-degree murder of his wife. So we're going to see more about that case in this trial.
Oh my gosh.
Then we have a brief in support of motion for introduction of statement of Tammy Daybell. This is really interesting because please remember, this is the state's motion. The state has something they want to submit coming from Tammy Daybell, not the defense. And then this last one, some really interesting things here. To seal state's motion in limine and brief in support of motion to exclude recording and Prosecutor Wood as witness.
Yep.
We're going to get to that in a second. I'm sure that seems familiar to some of you. And brief in support of motion to exclude recording and Prosecutor Wood as witness. What? We're trying to make Prosecutor Wood a witness again? Or exclude him as prosecutor? To seal state's motion to quash subpoena, which I
say if it's true, should that happen, you know? Yeah.
I imagine is a subpoena of Rob Wood. Let me take you back a few years.
Thank you, girl.
You're going to remember this story because we've told it before. There was a time in which Prosecutor Wood and a couple of other people involved in the case here in Idaho went to Arizona to interview witnesses, to speak with the police. And while they
No, it wasn't to arrest Melanie Gibb and Melanie Plowski, unfortunately, right?
they were there, Prosecutor Wood had a conversation with Summer Shiflett. Do you guys remember this? So he was having a conversation with Summer, and Summer's attorney was standing there the entire time that this conversation happened. What Prosecutor Wood did not know is that Summer's attorney was recording this conversation. Remember this? This all came up way long before the cases were ever severed, long before Lori's trial.
And that's because Arizona is a one-party recording state. Like one party only has to have knowledge about the recording. So I don't know about lawyer ethics, in law, but some states are one-party states. Some you have to have both people agree to. You have to let them know that you're recording them, basically. So for what that's worth.
This all got dealt with way back in the Mark Means days. So Rob Wood had a conversation with Summer Shiflett where he acknowledged that they were of the same religion. And he said some disparaging things about Mark Means. Remember, Mark Means was real butthurt about this. And told Summer that she should really encourage her sister to get a better attorney.
And I have to note here, the interesting thing between these tea leaves, in my opinion, is John Pryor's whole freaking MO, which is, you said Lori was more culpable. She was the mastermind. She led Chad, but he led her by the storm. Whatever. I'm just saying, how he brought that in, John Pryor brought that in about Lori being the mastermind, because that's what the prosecution addressed her as during her trial in 2023, a year ago, right? And John Pryor, instead of having in my opinion, his tookus in his office, maybe investigating Chad's defense, preparing for trial that's quickly approaching, 24 days, mind you, until Chad's trial. And so instead, he took the luxury of attending trial. I mean, I've seen him. I didn't meet him, but I saw him and I was like, okay, well, that's nice. And you're just like, well, don't you have something to do? Don't you have a trial to prepare for? I mean, you bitched and moaned and complained and whined, right? For years to sever your client from his wife, which is Lori Bello, and successfully did so. And so it's just interesting how he's just like, but then you got to think too. John Pryor is just all about this whole, who's the mastermind? Lori's the mastermind. She's more culpable. He's not saying my client is innocent. He is not saying anything like that. It's all, and that was interesting for me to glean from Lori's trial. It was, when they came up, her defense team, Jim Archibald and John Thomas, came up with the whole alibi, Lori's alibi. And I'm just like, nowhere in her alibi is she claiming to be innocent. I did not kill my children. I did not kill Tammy Daybell. No one was murdered here, right? That bullshit. Remember that? Who could forget, right? So I just find this interesting because neither defense teams have proclaimed their client's innocence. And I mean, I would just be like, I object. I am not guilty, I did not inhale, whatever. I'm just saying. All right, I'm gonna shut up.
And to consider cooperating with the police because they really think that Chad Daybell is the brains behind the operation and that she's really going to get hurt if she goes to trial. Remember this? And Mark Means threw a huge fit, brought it all before the court. Here comes the recording, which Rob Wood didn't even know existed, which normally if attorneys are recording each other, they do it out in the open and they discuss it beforehand. But if you'll recall, this is the same attorney who during the legal proceedings with Melanie Boudreau-Pulowski and Brandon Boudreau, he defamed Brandon Boudreau so badly that Brandon sued him and won $12 million. Remember this? Okay. That's the attorney that recorded Rob Wood in this conversation. And then the defense blew this up like this was a huge deal, that Rob was, trying to have some influence or something, which, I mean, he kind of was, but who says he doesn't have the right to? He is the prosecutor. Remember this whole conversation? Remember this? Okay. So it appears that the defense is trying to bring this back in. They are trying to exclude Rob Wood as the prosecutor again. Now,
Wouldn't y'all? I just would love to be a fly on the wall inside those courtroom walls right now. I'm just saying. I just want to know. It would just be interesting to know what's being said and argued, and quite frankly, right now, right?
Judge Boyce has already ruled on all of this, so I'm not sure why it's even being considered again.
And so she's referring to January 2021 when Judge Boyce already ruled on this in that matter, that time, that year, right?
And I guess he just has to say no again. They're trying to kick him off. They also obviously have subpoenaed him and are trying to call him as a witness. Remember this conversation where Mark Means kept referring to Rob Wood as a witness? And remember when the prosecutor or the judge, Judge Boyce, informed Mark Means that the prosecutor is not a witness and that the prosecutor is allowed to speak to people involved in this trial as a part of his job. Recall all of this? We're bringing it all up again. So, I don't know. I mean, this is more shenanigans, definitely, on the part of John Pryor, but there's another piece to this that is very interesting because there is an expert witness. This guy right here, we believe, this is to our best guess, he is licensed to practice in Idaho. He goes by the same name. So and he is known to work as an expert witness. So we do believe that this is who they are trying to bring in. What they're trying to do is they want to bring Dr. Davidson in and let him give testimony of his evaluation of that recording and how somehow it means something to this case. It is not evidence in any way. It's not evidence in this case at all. And this was a conversation that was had with Summer Shiflett, who is not a defendant in this case. But it appears that the defense is trying to bring all of that back in and bring in this expert witness to discuss that. So, and the prosecution, of course, is objecting to that and asking to throw all of this out, including the subpoena and the statements from the expert witness. So let me tell you a little bit about this James Davidson.
Really? I've been saying, oh, I've been just a talking, right? Obviously. Thank you, DJ. Oh my God, I'm never gonna be able to say that again. Okay, so I'm not trying to rely so heavily upon True Crime Squad here, which I suggest you guys go and subscribe. I'm gonna put that into the chat right now. And subscribe to them. They are really fact driven, up to date in their information and deliverance of said information. And anyways, it just is interesting that their channel, like, it doesn't get nearly as much traffic as I think it should, but that's me. I like small channels anyways, so here we are. But so I'm sorry to keep breaking this up, but YouTube Daddy just doesn't really like this. So I know it's annoying to have to interject and all this aggravating stuff, but it's just so we don't get flagged and so we can continue to stream and come live, come to you live. All right, I'm going to shut my trap. And then after she's done, we are going to, we can go over and review that testimony of Rob Wood and Summer Shiflett. If y'all want to, drop a 1 in the chat if you do. And if not, just, say nothing, I guess. I don't know. Let me know what you want to do. All right. Let me go push play.
James Davidson is a PhD as a forensic and clinical psychologist. He got his doctorate from Kent State University, where he was recognized as a university fellow. He received his undergraduate degree from Michigan State University. He is licensed as a psychologist in Texas and Idaho, which seems really strange to me. He's able to conduct forensic evaluations in most states. In over 30 years of private practice, he has evaluated the effectiveness of mental health agencies, conducted numerous psychological and forensic evaluations, and served as an expert witness on various issues. He has expertise in such specialty areas as child custody evaluations, very young children, juvenile law, and juvenile sex offense, but has also experience with general, criminal, and civil matters. Dr. Davidson has conducted criminal evaluations for issues such as competence to stand trial, mental state at the time of the offense, mitigation, false confession, sexual offense, risk assessment, and competence to waive Miranda rights. Dr. Davidson has conducted civil evaluations for issues such as child custody, parent competency, psychological evaluation, sexual abuse, tort action, personal injury, psychological evaluation, and civil competence or guardianship. He has experience assisting attorneys with the critique of family law, civil and criminal psychological work product, and preparation of questions for direct and cross-examination. He has been trained in conducting forensic interviews of children that meet the NICHHD criteria used for child advocacy centers. Dr. Davidson's emphasis is providing services and expert opinions based on scientific research, clinical practice, relevant law, and psychological methods and procedures that are considered to be best practice. Dr. Davidson has met the educational requirements to practice civil and family law mediation. He is approved to perform parent coordination and parent facilitation. Dr. Davidson has extensive forensic and clinical experience across the age range and with diverse socioeconomic and ethnic groups. So that's Dr. Davidson. He obviously has experience in psychological evaluation of various things and is, has a history as an expert witness. Now, I'm going to tell you, all of this is an educated guess based on what little information we have on what we know about these filings, because all of this is sealed. We don't know for sure. I cannot imagine there's something other than that recording. We've all remembered it. We all remember when Mark Means tried to call Prosecutor Wood a witness, tried to get him kicked off the case for that conversation, when the conversation was played in court and when the attorney was present to say that, yes, he did make that recording. I don't know what else it could possibly be. And if it's something else, then it's something we've never heard of before. But I think that we're right about this. I'm pretty sure that this is an attempt, again, to attack the prosecutor and to create doubt around Rob Wood, which I think is pretty hilarious because Rob Wood is very solid. Now, I remember that Katie and I said back at the time that this was originally discussed that he did some kind of maybe not advisable things, like have the conversation with her about their religion and that they're both the same religion. And I just got to tell you that that's just living here and living in that area of Arizona. People.
No, okay, but I mean, I'm just posing the question. Does that make it okay though? Like, where do we draw the line of how can we sit here and say and be? I feel like a hypocrite when I say that people like Nancy James, I'm sure Chad Daybell, I'm sure Lori Vallow, and the people surrounding them. So, I mean, when does it become okay to say, you can trust me? I'm LDS. I'm the same religion as you. And how many times can we keep going into this? I don't know. Same conundrum, you know? And it's just like, okay, to what point are you gullible? Are we gullible? And to what point are we, perhaps being slightly manipulated or whatever, reassured. Um, Anyways, I don't really know the right words to use. So
People share that information all the time as a sign that this person is trustworthy. That is a
horrible.
very common thing. And maybe he was going to speak to that and speak to whatever else. I don't know. Also, here's the other thing. In that conversation, Rob Wood told Summer that he believed that Chad Daybell was the mastermind behind these murders and that Lori wasn't as culpable, and that she should get a better attorney and that she should consider cooperating with the prosecutor's office. One of the reasons I think this might be coming up is because it's very clear from the defense's filings lately that they're really attacking that or they're kind of trying to twist what happened in Lori's trial to say that the prosecution's case is that Lori was the mastermind behind this. Not bad.
Right.
Now,
I agree. Like, had his client been there, had John Pryor's client been there as per schedule, right, as per plans, then they'd have pointed the finger at both of them. But you're not going to sit there and address, I wouldn't. I don't know. I don't practice law, nor do I know any. I'm not an expert. So this is all my opinion. But I mean, and just my common sense is telling me that, okay, let's say I go to court and, just kind of the same scenario, just minus all the bull crap. Okay. And let's say, Jason was severed from my trial. Okay. I go to trial. They're not going to sit there and be like, okay, Miss Fallow, or okay, Miss Easton. It was all Jason's fault. Okay. And so, how do you present a case like that anyway? So that's stupid. It's the stupidest freaking argument, in my opinion, because it's just like you're addressing the person in the courtroom who's on trial. And you're so John Pryor, Chad Daybell, was severed from that trial with his wife. Almost the same charges. You know what I mean? And John Pryor pitched and bitched and, quite frankly, his way, and severed that trial from his client, And it's just interesting because I just don't see how would John Pryor have expected that to go in Lori's trial a year ago. Would it have made him feel better if the prosecution and everybody there would have been like, okay, although Chad Daybell's not in the damn courtroom, they're sitting there gonna point the finger, and you know what I mean? It's stupid. It's the stupidest shit I've ever heard. How about, I guess, no defense is the best defense? I don't really know. Like she said, creating doubt. And I can see that too, All you need is one juror to be like, that doubt, and then, you don't have a conviction. And then, I don't know if that means Chad Daybell gets to go back, living his best life over there in Rexburg or, Salem, Idaho. I don't know if anybody feels comfortable with that. Phew, it's crazy.
that is the opposite of what that conversation between Rob Wood and Summer Shiflett said. Now, when the defense brought in a motion in limine where they wanted to exclude, or not so much exclude, but sort of control the narrative that the prosecution was allowed to use because they said that Lori was the mastermind, it really came out that they didn't say that. That is the impression a lot of people got from the trial. Certainly I got that impression as well, but that was not actual evidence in the case. And so the judge said, no, you can't tell the prosecution that they can't say that about Chad. there's nothing to stop that. But I feel like this is in the same vein as that conversation that happened a few months ago.
Totally.
So I think that's where this is going. It's a lot. It's really a lot. And does it really matter? In the case, it's not actual evidence.
All right. And then so, okay. And then so Chad is faced with first degree murder and his wife, Tammy Daybell, and her death and her murder, right? Who nobody would even have learned. Nobody would ever have known. Just think about that for a moment. Just think about just that little tidbit of information. Chad Daybell, his wife, she passed away in her sleep. She had a little cough, a little coughing spell, and then she just didn't wake up. I mean, that's basically the narrative we got. And so he quickly has her services and everything, gets and buries her in Springville, Utah, not Rexburg, not the area where where Tammy and Chad moved to, uprooted their entire lives, transplanted over there in Rexburg, Idaho, Fremont County. I mean, that was a big transition in 2015 for the family. And so his wife dies, just passed away in her sleep. I mean, I actually had a visual, like, how you think about things whenever you hear things. And so I was like, I pictured it. Okay. Tammy passing away, in her sleep. I pictured her sleeping peacefully. And then you come to learn that, I mean, Chad Daybell, in my opinion, allegedly was okay. He is okay. Was okay. So was Lori. With no one ever learning of any suspicious, I don't know what word I'm trying to use. Harm, behavior, acts. Nobody. It wasn't murder. You know what I mean? Like he would have got away with it, is what I'm saying. He did get away with it for a while, for a time, until everything from Arizona, from my uncle Charles Vallow, and then all that finally caught up, and with Brandon Boudreaux being shot at, and it's like, holy hell, had that information from my uncle Charles and Brandon Boudreaux, had that never crossed paths with, or had that info never been passed forward to Idaho, I mean, who knows? Who freaking knows? I mean, and Chad was, the way I see it, Chad Daybell was freaking K. A-OK, with nobody ever learning that his wife's death was ever suspected of suspicion for murder in the first degree. So I remember this hearing a while back. Remember when they were wanting to take the death penalty off the table for Chatty Daddy? And Rob Wood was really sure to hammer this point. He was like, or basically, I don't know, don't quote me, but basically he was, the prosecution was like, no, we're not removing the death. It has nothing to do with the children. This is all for Tammy. So that's what I got from it. I don't know what you got from it. Something's making a noise by my feet. Anyways, it's just Chad. So how I see it, Chad Daybell was 144,000% okay with his wife potentially being murdered and all that buried, all those secrets buried, never to be seen again, right? Out of sight, out of mind. And that to me screams guilt. I mean, just guilt. And then it reminds me of the recording with Melanie Gibb, the, alleged secret recording between Melanie Gibb and Lori and Chad when they were in Hawaii. And she's like, hey guys, when she's trying to cover her ass, Melanie Gibb. Well, and Chad Daybell out of nowhere butts into that conversation. It's just Lori and Melanie at that time. It's all Melanie and Cora Horror, okay? And they are just dissing each other in Mormon scriptures, basically. They're having like a Mormon matriarchal battle, rap battle or something. I don't know what the hell that was. It was interesting to witness, though. I was like, what is this? But Chad Daybell butts in with his chin, and he's like, yeah, I don't know if you're whatever he said. Some about conspiracy theories, like his sister-in-law, Heather Daybell, or no, he didn't say Heather. My sister-in-law, Heather Day. Well, he didn't say Heather Daybell. Anyways, just basically purporting all these, lies. That's what Chad's basically alluding to. He didn't have to butt in, first off. Nobody even asked him, okay, in that conversation. Nobody was talking about that. Nobody knew about it. He offered that information up. So thank you, Chad. And so we would have never gotten insight from that either. But again, I think that they tend to tell on themselves when they talk. Like when Lori was going through the welfare check with the Rexburg detectives in November of 2019. And Lori starts crying because, anyways. And she's like, I have done nothing wrong here. It's persecution complex 2.0. Okay. And it's straight out the playbook with this brood of people. Tim Ballard, all of them. Okay. They're like, why? David Levitt comes to mind. It's interesting. But anyway, so just sit on that Chad Daybell was A-okay, in my opinion, with everybody, including his family, including his own children, potentially, never knowing the truth about their mother and why she died and how she died. That's a whole nother level of evil.
Evidence. Nothing the prosecutor says is evidence. But as usual, the defense is trying to attack whatever they can because we all know Chad doesn't have a defense. Lori's also already been convicted on all counts. There's no defense here. And now he still has the death penalty attached. So they're trying to punch holes wherever they can. I think this will be unsuccessful, as it was already. The judge has already seen all of this information, except for the statement from Dr. Davidson. We don't know what that says, or what his stance is on all of this. But I really don't think that Judge Boyce will let it in this time around, considering he didn't let it in last time around. So we shall see. And I am fascinated to know what the statement from Tammy Daybell is. What is that? Is that something that she wrote that they now have? Is it something that she said to her sister or a friend? Because remember, this is the prosecution bringing this in, wanting this statement from Tammy Daybell to come in. Is it the Facebook post where she talked about someone trying to shoot a paintball gun at her?
Was I muted again that whole time? I hate this microphone. You press the button, but it doesn't mean that it's listening to your commands, right? Oh, yeah, I know, Inga. I know. A lot of us feel that way. She says, I hated the way those Daybell kids treated their mother, Tammy. I mean, I only know in death, right? I never knew Tammy Daybell. Never. I've come to know her and love her and to honor her as best I can with never meeting her, I just I want to do right by her as best as I can. But when the Daybell kids said that their dad needed an advocate, I was like, your dad needs to be a freaking man for once. That's just my opinion. That's my knee-jerk reaction right there. No, your mom, for once in this, probably in life too, in life and in death, needs the loudest voices right now. And it's so sad. It's disheartening. And thank you, Super Chat. Oh, it went away, right? I don't know where it's at. But thank you. I didn't get to see it. But thank you so very much. It's always appreciated, never expected. Anyway, so I'm gonna go ahead and share the screen if y'all want to. I didn't go look because I was behind the scenes. Oh, thank you, Fish Face 123. It's so good to see your face. Well, you know what I mean. It's so good to see you here. So good to see your name here. And thank you for the donation. That's really, really, I really thank you for that. Also, okay, now I see it. Now I see it. Thank you, Fancy Nancy. Oh, thank you for the prayers. Thank you. We appreciate that. I appreciate that. I can only speak for myself, right? And there's Fish Face. Oh, it's so good to see you guys. Sorry, my throat was killing me yesterday. So anyways, let me clear my throat. Okay, hopefully I'm unmuted. All right. Let's see. Is there anybody wanting to go over, just kind of graze over that Rob Wood and Summer Shiflett? Just, I don't know if y'all want to glean from that or what. Yeah, it was good on TC. Yeah, it was good. I still haven't seen the first 30 minutes of it.
Cresha,
Yeah.
there was a bunch of ones in the chat that they did want to hear that.
Okay.
What you were
I
just
went and
asking.
looked, but I didn't see a group of them or anything. So thank you.
There was a big bunch.
Okay, good. All right. Well, that's what we'll do. That's what we're going to do. So thank you for letting me know. All right. I'm going to go ahead and close Judge Boyce's channel down. So, I mean, we can look forward to, him ruling on this again, this closed hearing is being held right now, or allegedly could be over by now. All right. Let's see. I'm opening every wrong tab. You ever have one of them kind of days in a row? All right. Let's see. Share this one. I did. Okay. Oh.
Kids' case because they were last seen in Rexburg.
Oh, it's gonna be hard to hear.
Or were last living in Rexburg. Right. Tyler was last seen in Yellowstone, but and so we were the ones that knew everything about the case, and so they assigned us on that. I'm just gonna tell you right now, we are going to be filing conspiracy to commit murder charges against both Chad and Lori. Good. And we're not shy about that. I've told their attorneys. Okay. His attorney keeps pretending like I've never said that. Whatever. What? But we have to. Yeah. We have to. But I kind of want to give you a little bit of background of where we are and kind of our kind of theory of how this ended up where it was. We know that this is not the same Lori everyone else knew. What's so strange to me is everyone we talked to who knew Lori before this, well, she was primary president. She made quilts for these kids. She made everything fun. Mm-hmm. Everyone loved her. She loved everyone. Great mom. Great mom. That's what everyone says. And so the one thing I'm going to kind of ask you to consider is maybe something happened. I don't know what. I don't know if it's psychological. I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever know. But something happened, and I think Colby, the way he said it to me, I think it's kind of the person who's in that jail cell is not my mom, it's someone else. Yeah. The flip side of that is that I shouldn't say the flip side, but I want to be clear. I'm not going to pull any punches on any defendant in this case, right? I've got my job to do. And, absolutely. But we also want the truth and the whole truth and the context of it. And Chad Daybell is. Did you ever meet Chad?
So I met him once at a preparing people. I went to one preparing
Okay.
people thing, and my mom and husband and I went to support Lori, and she wanted to support Mel, so we went and met Chad after he talked for like 90 seconds, maybe,
Mhm.
if that.
I just wanted to let Little Brands know that I gave you a wrench just now, so that's why that appears like that. If you want to, if not, let me know and I'll remove the wrench. Moderator, right?
And then he called me when Lori got transferred to the Idaho jail. He texted me and said Lori wanted to talk to me, and I was like, yeah. And then the second I hung up with her, he called me to ask me about bail for Lori. So I've talked to him maybe 3 times briefly on the phone, never a long extended conversation. But the first thing he said to me when he called me was that he said, Lori hasn't told me very much about the kids, so there's not really much I can tell you about it.
Right. Of course you said that. Well,
Good. Well, I agree.
welcome to Chad Daybell.
Oh yeah.
So what I want to
I
kind of
have my own opinions formed of him.
I bet you do.
Yeah.
He's highly manipulative.
Yeah, I see that.
I'm not going to say he's highly intelligent, but
We
you
agree.
don't have to be highly intelligent to be highly manipulative.
Absolutely.
He is extremely manipulative, and I want your sister manipulated him in some ways too, but the context for everything that happened came from Chad.
Absolutely.
And
So, I already forgot. Okay. Yeah, just kidding. This was from January 2021 when Mark Means and John Pryor, quite frankly, were trying to remove Special Prosecutor Rob Wood and, disqualify him from the case and enter him as a witness, right? So, yeah. Big Toe was not there. Big Chad, Big Chin, all none of his body parts were there. He was there in spirit. I'm just kidding. Oh, anyways. Oh, hello.
unfortunately, we have enough evidence to prosecute him, and we are.
Well, get it.
The case against your sister's stronger, but
Let's talk about that for a
I
second.
kind of want to give you just that background.
Right here where he says that we have enough to prosecute him, and we are the case against your sister.
Your sister's stronger.
Is stronger. So that's where I was like, oh my God, and then just think about what we've been through already last year, almost this time last year with Lori's trial, and think about all of the evidence, digital, forensic, testimony, witness, cellular data, all the pings and the text messages, right? That Detective Hart, he deserves like a valor of honor for reading that nasty ass text. It was horrible, and did it with a straight face, right? God bless him.
But I kind of want to give you just that background. That's kind of the context we see this as. Like, this guy came in here, and again, I'm not making excuses for anyone, but kind of blew up this situation.
Hello.
And he did not care who died, who got hurt. He did not care at all. And the other thing I'm going to tell you is your sister truly believes that everything she's done has been done in righteousness.
That's the
I know I'm kind of
statement,
using
y'all.
LDS.
This statement right here, that everything that your sister has done, she thinks has been done in righteousness. That grabbed me a long time ago. And so I keep that, especially what Rob Wood said, because he's got all the insight into the cases, right? He knows what, out of all of us and the investigators, he knows. He's one of the more knowledgeable people of what really happened in the murders of Tammy, Tylee, and JJ. And so I always keep that statement close to the vest, right? In all of my research. And I know a lot of people aren't particularly comfortable. I don't know if they're just not comfortable or if people, because like to, I guess, research where I do research, where it's led me, where the evidence of the things that have been said, the things that have been practiced. I just want to enter this very poignant point, and that is that what Chad and Lori did, what Lori did and is convicted of, what is alleged against Chad Daybell, and he will be go to trial on that in 24 days, is obviously, in my opinion, it's not a product of good things. Okay. And in my belief system, I equate God and Jesus with good. I equate the devil and bad murder and things like that. That's bad. That's evil. That's the devil. That's that side. Okay. And so I feel that it's very obvious that it was not done in righteousness. So where did it invert? Where did it go opposite world? Where did it go Jody Hildebrandt? Where did it go Ruby Frankie? Where did it go David Hamlin? Where did it go Gordon Bowen? Where does it invert? And then when do people of the same faith, come to the realization that if it's not Mormonism, okay. I mean, I'm not making that argument. I'm just saying the trail that I've followed, I mean, just really, really digging deep into what has been said, what has been shared, what we know, the conversations that were going on between all these people. Audrey Baratero, saying that, when she was being questioned by Jim Archibald, were you praying to Jesus? And she was like, well, I mean, we know the answer to that, but it was interesting to hear her rebuttal, hear her answer. And I mean, she's like, well, I was praying to Jesus, but that tells me everything I need to know. Everything. Just that one little glimpse. And so I think it's safe to say that this was worship of the devil. I mean, I don't know how you gotta label it. I don't know how, uh, you know, that comes across to everybody else. To me, that's like, obviously they were not worshiping the good side, the light side, as Chad would say, as Tom Harrison would say, as a lot of these people would say. So where does it go right from wrong, left from right? Where Ruby Frankie in her allocution statement saying, I thought that police were, the bad guys that just basically can't trust anything or anybody around you. I think I need to have some counseling on that or something, because I'm having a hard time trusting too. I mean, again, this has troubled me, and it's something I have had to learn on my own. And it's been so weird. How do you go? And I mean, I want to scream it from the rooftops and say, this is that thing. This is that satanic panic, label that was labeled back in the 80s. By whom? Who labeled it that? A satanic panic? Okay. If there's like some really horrendous murders going on and some horrendous and horrible child abuse going on, I hope and pray that it would cause some kind of hysteria. It should. Why wouldn't it? And I just feel like people who perhaps practice this worship, this type of abuse, who have this inverted thinking, I just like the false memory syndrome foundation. That was to create doubt in the minds of so many people who have researched this case, Satanic Panic, the Glenn Pace memo from 1990. You know, he turned that memo in to the church leaders, and they sent him on a mission in another country. Okay. That is so fascinating. Why? Why? And it's not just that. The church is not the only people. It's the media. It is, in my opinion, it is how I see it. It is the actual members of this inverted thinking who gaslight. That is apparent to me. It is gaslighting. No, you did not experience that. That's, oh my God, it's a false memory, girl. That's a false memory, you little victim, right? You know how they say that? We've heard that. You're a victim. Don't be a victim, you know? Like Rosie Hamblin allegedly said that to one of her daughters, or who knows how many daughters in the Hamblin case. And I mean, and they pick and poke and agitate and instigate, and they're the actual ones who are, you know, in these victim statements and are accused of doing some really, really shady shit. I'd say it's not of the light side, yet, you know, members of the church, right? It's so weird. It's the weirdest experience I've never, okay. And I'm just being honest with y'all. Just this one time, I'm just being honest. No, I'm just kidding. Whenever we were about to go to trial for Lori, I emailed Adam Herbitz because I just, everything that I had learned up until that point, I was like, nobody's going to believe this anyways. I mean, that's been apparent. Nobody, they label this as a conspiracy theory. Tylee, JJ, Tammy, and Charles, they're conspiracy theories to a lot of people. That didn't happen. What? You believe in that? You're stupid. You're silly. And I'm like, you're on crack. You need to, you know, you need to reevaluate and question the sources who's telling you that. They're not conspiracy. This is reality. This is called real true crime right here. True crime. And I'm not going to make excuses for the murderers, the abusers, the child molesters, the rapists. I'm not doing it. I don't want to do it. But it seems like we're kind of forced into that I don't even know what to call it. Narrative. Because if you don't go with the grain, well then, you know, we're going to shadow ban your channel. We won't drive anybody to your channel. You're going to adhere to the YouTube daddy and the censorship and this narrative of it's okay to abuse children. It's okay to murder children. It's okay. This is so messed up, in my opinion. And it's such a, it is probably the biggest letdown to even have to come to, you know, like just to come to those terms where you're just like, okay, but this is what happened. This was ritual. They did this. Lori and Chad did this. It's in the indictment. They used their religion, their religious practices, ritual abuse, ritualistic, inverted, horrible abuse, murder. Yet people still won't believe that. Why? Why? Does it have to happen to your family and then you will maybe consider it? That's how I had to. It was a non-issue before any of this happened. And then it became, oh, awareness. I was like, oh, I didn't even know, you know, I used to be like, oh yeah, devil worshippers. Okay, yeah, blah, blah, blah. I spoke ignorantly. I never had to freaking research it. I never had to learn from myself. I never had to question anything. It just didn't fly up on my radar. But then this happened to the kids, to JJ, Tylee, Tammy, and Charles, and Joe. And then you're like, I question everything. I question everybody. I question everybody's narrative. Why? Why? It is not justice, ever, in my opinion, when you can't even get their stories out. Oh my God, how many of these documentaries, how many of these Lifetime movies, and all these narratives that they're true enough. They're just true enough, but they're not their actual stories. And by God, they're not here to tell their stories. Okay. I'm here. I vow to usher in their stories. Okay. That's what I'm trying to do. I don't want to tell their stories. If the information and the facts would just not be jacked with and not be manipulated and contorted and twisted into other people's narratives, then their stories would have been out a long time ago, along with every other victim that's ever been silenced from any of this shit. And it's just beyond me. It's beyond me. How can we be arbiters of truth if we are, in fact, not even willing to understand and accept that really bad things happen to really good people, really innocent people, and continue to happen even after the alleged perpetrators are arrested, jailed, go to prison, receive the death penalty. I think I'm not saying in this case, but in a lot of cases where I think this gets pinned on people. And there's, I'm not saying there's a global network. No. But I'd say it's pretty strong evidence that it's all up in this area of research. I don't know how they do it. I don't really care. It works. And so why would they stop doing what works? Dumbing us down, keeping us quiet, keeping us like checking ourselves. We're like, well, I don't know how many times I've done it. I'm just like, oh my God, people are going to look at me like a conspiracy theorist. And no, I'm not. I never thought I was. Maybe I am. If so, okay, whatever makes anybody feel comfortable. I don't have a narrative in this. I don't have it's not a, haha, gotcha. I don't have anything to gain from this. If anything, I'll lose a lot. I've never been asked to appear or to be interviewed by mainstream media. Know that. For whatever reasons they may have. Maybe they don't know about me. Or maybe they've heard about me. Maybe I'm that crazy bitch over there from Louisiana who's just like touting all this conspiracy theory when in all actuality it's the real stories. But it just makes people feel uncomfortable. And I say you got to get uncomfortable. We have to get we have to get comfortable with uncomfortable things. If we ever expect to get to the root of the problem, if we ever expect to address the problem, elephant in the room, and you're just like, well, is it an elephant? Or, it's not up for debate. Freaking murder. It ended in murder. Ruby Frankie's kids, it ended in freaking abuse, horrible torture. In the Hamblin case, oh my God. That is not satanic panic. That is satanic, oh shit. Somebody, I don't know. It's crazy. So basically, in my opinion, Tylee, JJ, Tammy, Charles, and even Joe will say 20, basically satanic panic continued. Okay. There you go. It never stopped. It never was a panic. It's real. And so I don't know. I'm just asking that people who aren't comfortable with this topic, I understand it's weird and it's so hellacious. Can you imagine what the victims felt and experienced? Can you even imagine? No, I can't. And I mean, I've immersed myself in this. I can only imagine. It's just terrible. It really is, because if we can't even get comfortable researching, listening to, with a thoughtful ear, questioning, even the alleged victims that come out, and you know how hard that is for anybody to even step forward with just trying to get their abusers and their all these people to be held accountable. I mean, society takes care of that pretty well. They victim blame. Check out The Last Dispensation, right? So gross. It's so weird. It's so opposite. But I mean, the further and further we go in society, I think that the more and more and more it's going to twist, and we're just spiraling out of control. And I just think that if everybody would just kind of not label things and just call it for what it is, then boom, it would just be so fast. You know how many times I was just like, okay, what is this? Like what am I researching? I'm seeing all these statements. I'm reading all these accounts. They all check out, all of them. I researched the person. I researched the doctors, the expert witnesses, holy crap. They use a lot of the same of those. It's so crazy, the world that we live in. And how does the justice system work for us? Does it work? How broken is it? It's pretty broken. That's obvious. But how broken is it? And what does that mean in terms of justice for these victims? And then, do we want to wait for when it happens to us, when it touches our lives personally? I've always been a fan of learning through other people's experiences. I'm just like, oh yeah, let me not do that. I try to, but anyways, the word conspiracy theory is no different than satanic panic, right? Conspiracy, wait, what is it? Oh, what's that word? Coincidence theorist. There you go. There's coincidence theorists out there. Holy crap. It's not a political thing. You can just go with that. It is not. It is just these are children, these are victims, and these are abusers. Who's being protected? Ask yourself. And then really look. And then ask why they're protecting, who they're protecting. Why are they protecting them? Tylee and JJ's names, Charles's name, this is my family, have never, ever been acknowledged by their church. Not one time. Why? Lori has. Chad has. They've sent attorneys that way. It's interesting. Just when you really look at the whole kit and caboodle, it's disgusting and it's disparaging. And it's like, I have a lot of research. I've found a lot of answers. It explains to me, and I think it would explain to the masses why we see the behaviors that we do in Chad and Lori and Melanie and David and Melanie and Ian and all the people around them. It explains. I'm just like, yeah, well, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah. And they're still out there. I don't know how. I mean, they have grandchildren and sleepovers and okay. And I watched, like Donna, I watched the Nate Eaton interview with Melanie Gibb. I've watched it 1,000 times, y'all. Every time I get something more and more out of it, And this time I watched it, and I just think with where it's led me is that, like, Melanie Gibb knows in my opinion, knows so much more. She's just playing the part. And that's too, obviously, that is to, throw people off the trail. It gave Lori and Chad enough time to move to Hawaii, or to run to Hawaii, whatever the hell they did. Whenever they went in, did that welfare check in November of 2019. She bought them time. Then I think that, like, oh shit, once the gig is up, they're like, okay. And they spin a story and they roll with it. They roll with it. In my opinion, they roll with this shit. And then this is how I think. This could be, and I know not everybody's going to want to hear it. Again, it's just a theory. Just a theory. I'm not saying it's fact. I don't believe it wholeheartedly. I don't believe anything, really. I believe my intuition. I believe where my research has led me. I believe all the things that I have seen and, filtered through. And I'm just like, I mean, it could be potentially, but I think that, there's the storytellers, so to speak. Boy, that's a word that these Satanists, I'll say Satanists, I don't know what else to call them. That's what they do. They tell stories. It's what they do. And whenever you're doing something so heinous and so abhorrent in plain sight, I mean, they can't help but brag about it. Oh my God, they can't help it. It's like they kind of make it easy sometimes, because they can't help but tell on themselves. And they think they're slick until you're like, whoa, I didn't even realize that person was doing that. Tim Ballard is a great example of this. He's fooled so many, and he still continues to fool so many. I mean, where does it stop? Where does it stop? And so, is it just because Chad has been in jail and because Lori's been in jail that they've not been able to influence other people or masses of people? But just think, it's not really just their influence, okay? There's other people who practice and believe the same exact way that they do. Hence why the shit don't ever stop, because nobody is just like saying, oh yeah, okay, that's Satanist and they're doing this, whatever the hell they do, practicing their shit. And then, okay, the result is murdered children, okay? Dismembered, buried, scattered, mutilated, like trying to delete that person's existence, okay? And we don't have to believe in what they believe in, but they believe in what they believe in. That's the scary part. That's where you're just like, well, whatever, I'm not saying you got to believe it or you should or whatever. That's not up for debate. But the fact of the matter is that this does happen. And they use religious beliefs to muddy it up. Okay. They make it political in that sense. They make it where it gets hairy, for a prosecuting attorney to even prosecute a case with this angle, because you can't, you can't combine church and state, you silly people. You can't do that. We can, but you cannot. It's such a double standard, and we want to believe that. We, the people, I think, want to believe that. I used to believe that we don't combine church and state. I'm not of that opinion anymore. For a long time, it's a theocracy. We live in a theocratic society. I'm not political. I don't really know the terms. I just know what the evidence here is. It's evident that there are, I don't know how many, there's a wake of dead bodies, dead children, missing children, exploited, trafficked children, women, men, doesn't matter. We are not, it knows no race, no creed, No, it had these people prey on us. They say are weak and are vulnerable, but I don't think so. I think they are good storytellers. And that is their craft, is to fool us. Is to fool people who want to believe. And it's, you know what I mean? Like, it's okay to believe the good in the world. That's the only thing that keeps me going. But they are really good at crashing the worldview. Okay. I'm just like, oh, A2, A2 brute, like, oh my God, can I have anything? Right? No, they take it all. But, oh, yeah, right. Can you imagine, Chris? Can y'all imagine, y'all? Chris says, too bad Chad can't have a GoFundMe for his legal aid like Tim Ballard. Can you even effing imagine? I mean, who would be on board with that? Besides like-minded people or people who are just buffaloed by their bullshit. It's so nuts. Yeah. They have this idea. I think they actually exploited Zero. Uh, I don't know. I'm at that point where I'm just like, okay, like Jody Hildebrandt, Ruby Frankie, Chad, Lori, the main cases I talk about, the main people in the cases I talk about. Okay. And I mean, this is the weird part, I say this is the weird part. It's really not. It's not the weird part. It's all freaking weird, but it's not my weird and it's not your weird, but it is weird. But it's theirs. And so all we got to know is that they believe in this. We don't have to. I don't believe in their shit, but they do. And they use it. And they weaponize everything. They weaponize and politicize everything. Just the basic human rights of all. They are exploiters of everything good. If there's a loophole, you best be sure that their asses are like founded, and then they just go to town on that, and they are fast. That's for sure. And they go undetected for so long because nobody believes that about Brother Hamblin. Nobody believes that about Brother Daybell. He was serving in our ward clerk under our bishop. He was serving a calling in the church. Not Brother Daybell. Not Sister Vallow. Not, Miss Goody Goody Two Shoes herself, Melanie Gibb. No, not David Warwick. Y'all, I swear there's so much stuff that we still have not dissected. And I'm like, okay, yes, David Warwick's transcript from his End of the World visions, right? It's just, what's the point? If nobody is going to be held accountable, I mean, I don't know. I say, what's the point? But I'm still going to go and hammer at them because these people bother me and everybody needs to know about them. That's my job. That's my job as JJ's aunt. That's my job as Tylee's step cousin. And it's my job as Charles Vallow's niece. That's my job as my parents' daughter. It's my job in society to expose these assholes. Okay? They like to do the crime. It's time that they get the time. Much needed time and exposure. Much time. So I'll keep on doing it. But yeah, Zero, I'm sorry. I go back and forth with how much do they know is wrong and how much, because it's generational. Okay. It's taught generationally. And so it's like, okay, well, if they're taught that everything is opposite, and you're such a you got to think it's a self-sustaining membership or communities, the LDS. I'm just speaking to the LDS as an outsider who's researched the shit out of it. They're very self-sustaining. I mean, which is admirable, right? There's a lot of good people, so many good people. And, I hope that this is the part that bothers me the most on this side of the crime, on this side of the tragedy. Because they're not coming back. Tylee, Charles, Tammy, JJ, and Joe, and all the other victims who have been silenced permanently to these whatever you want to call them, abusers, Satanists, elitists, accelerationalists, whatever, the second comers, these people, they all preach ushering in the second coming of their Jesus Christ, of their definition of Jesus Christ, which is, might want to check into that. It's been predicted for a long time now. And it really looks like it's coming to fruition. And that's if we don't get our heads out of our asses and wake the hell up and just say, oh, okay, yeah, I can't keep my head in the sand, because it gets nowhere. I think the more people that are aware of these people and their crimes and their methods to how they manipulate and exploit and abuse and use and prey upon people, the better we are. It won't hurt. It'll definitely put it'll kink their plans a great deal. But I mean, we're not in this alone, and we need everybody. I need you guys, and I'm here for y'all. I'll do my part. And I think that's what we all do. We all hold a piece of this. We all should be invested in this, because this is our future. This is our present, actually. And this is for our posterity in years to come, I know I feel this small. I'm like, well, what the hell can I add? Well, in numbers, though, that's powerful. And it's a wave that, of good and all of the good in society, in us humans who are just doing our best to human, right? I mean, holy crap. But I will always be as staunch of an advocate as I can in this cause, whatever this cause is. And I never want to be silenced, because by silencing me, it silences them even more. It's just like stepping on their heads. And that's so gross, right? What you got in your head? Oh, personal Jesus, right? Oh my God, I have a whole playlist of songs. I wish maybe I can start a back channel and just have that, for that side. I really do miss music. I've had to rely on YouTube friendly music that's not copyright. Anyways, which is okay, but that's where they call me a god, right? I'm like, oh, that's perfect. Ding. Yeah. By the way, there are between 45 to 48,000 Christian denominations, all having their own Jesus, and each member of the denomination have their personal Jesus, right? Oh, and I didn't mean to click that. Sorry. Yeah. Well, thank you, Liza Joe, and same to you. That's true. I like that, Allie. Thank you. And it's true. And it's a manipulation tactic. I mean, come on. It's like it's hard to get to that side of thinking where you're like, wait, could they use religion as yes, they exploit everything, right? People, they exploit everything. Okay. They don't care about you. They don't care about what you do. They don't care how you feel. They do not care. They just care of how they can capitalize and gain and just feed off of your good energy, your good positive outlook, and they suck it dry, right? It is like the narcissism, the narcissist. It's the year of the narcissist, right? It's horrible. Oh, I would love, I'd love to hear that, right? My half brother Eric, he's And I guess he's still in a band. Hell, I don't know. I don't get to go visit people, right? How's everybody doing? Right. I got to visit with my daughter and Larry too. Larry came by yesterday or day before. I don't remember. But anyways, so I've been kind of debating this too. I never set out to write a book. To me, it's just like more, I have to do it now because this feels like a public service announcement, whatever. But my way of expressing myself and venting and, using this process to heal, I wish that I could figure out a way. I'm sure there's a way. Where there's a will, there's a way, right? And I was thinking like I'd have to, I don't know, I'd have to start a damn media company and create my own documentary. You know, I don't even know where to start. I've got clips for days, right? That's all I do is work in my Canva app and make clips that I never share. Because I mean, the information just, I mean, it comes through so fast and you're just like, well, okay, well, that's over. So, you know, um, I've got 4 years of that, or almost 5 years of that. Teresa, how are you doing? I feel like this whole yes, me and my daughter were talking about that. Thank you for asking. Um, just like he said, I watched his interview with Hidden True Crime. I think it was yesterday. And I mean, he was upset. And I mean, there's days when that doesn't really, your anger doesn't really come out to play, so to speak, or it doesn't really emerge. But then there's just those days when it does. And it's hard to navigate through all those emotions, all those memories, all the details. And it always comes down to why? For what? It was so stupid to me, to us, to everybody in this chat, I'm sure, where it's just like, why? How did two middle-aged grandparents, okay, I'm talking about Chad and Lori, they were grandparents. I mean, they were so extra and weird and just juvenile. Like they were so immature about cheating, basically cheating everybody of their lives, of money that wasn't like in the bank account. It's called insurance, right? And it's life insurance. I remember telling mom one time, I was like, I'll tell you how you stop a lot of these murders is you take away life insurance. Okay. Boom. She was like, yeah, well, and I didn't know, I learned through this process also that, there's a database. I've still never seen it. I still have not looked at it or looked for it. I don't even know what it's called, but there's a national database where I think mom had told me that. I don't know exactly how she told me that, but where they keep up with, I guess, payments and payouts and who's, I don't know. I'm gonna have to go look because now I remember that now. Oh, and so I'm gonna try and share what I can. But yeah, I mean, Teresa, they're okay. I mean, it's as good as can be expected. I wish I could be there with them. Um, I don't know how to work around this. It's so weird. It takes so much time, money, and energy, and just your emotional well-being to have to even go to Idaho, That I'm just like, that just sounds like a shitty time. Just the travel part, I've never been a fan of moving, but I've moved plenty of times, right? And it's like, okay, once you get there, once you get everything unpacked, but it's just the whole process, Um, but I wish I could be there. Um, but hey, um, I, I don't know what I really bring, you know. Obviously, I don't bring, and I don't know how to say that. Nobody has asked me to share my story. That's healing, you know? Instead, I just sit here and blah, 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 because there's no dialogue. There's nobody asking me questions. There's nobody interested besides you guys. You know what I mean? Not on where it would, get out to more people. Nobody knows about me unless, you happen to find out somehow. And again, it's never about me. It's about telling their stories right, correctly, and more correctly. It'll never be all the way because they're not here. But I don't know. It just really sucks. All right, let me go to what I was telling you about. So I had shared this before we went live. I didn't know we weren't live. I thought we were. And so I told Donna, and she was like, "Oh, you can share that with the chat." And I'm like, "We're not live." Anyways, so I don't know what was up with me yesterday or any day here lately, but I finally, I don't know. I reached out to Julie Rowe, okay? And she actually emailed me back. I haven't even read it yet. So, but I'll just say this. Oh, that's very sweet. Oh. Anyways, yeah, I'm not gonna share it all because I'm not an exploiter, okay? But the subject line of mine was just I have to kind of say it that way. I hope it gets people's attention, right? And I would just put Lori Vallow's ex/former niece, Krisha K. Easton, Charles Vallow's blood niece, JJ Vallow's blood aunt. My parents are Kay and Larry Woodcock, right? Boom. And so I did write her a rather lengthy email. Anyways, and so I'm just going to say she replied and said, "I'm sobbing." And she sent a heart emoji. She said, "I have waited so long to hear from you. No words, but please." Like, anyways. So phone then in person. I'm more grateful than you know for your timely, genuine, heartfelt, inspired, kind, loving message. Well, that's very descriptive. And so there's more to that message, but I don't know. I would, for what it's worth, and I think it's worth more than more than a lot of us want to even give credit to, and or entertain, and or consider. I think that everybody has a story. And I think everybody, just because we may perceive other people as like something we wouldn't do, some way we wouldn't act, some way we wouldn't respond, some way we wouldn't interject. This is a highly emotional story. This is a highly emotional case, and it involves real people, real lives, okay, real families. And I'm part of one of those families. I want to know all the things. I want to have that choice. There's nothing like that being taken away from you, or never offered, or never even considered. I want to be the judge of that. I want to control and navigate who I want who I want to hear from, what I want to know, how I want to know, all those things. Okay. So this is me just wanting to know her side, Julie Rowe's side. I think that she was, there's allegations of her and Chad potentially going to meet with Tom Harrison and learning how to portal. Okay, portal. And I mean, that's a big thing in this. We laugh. It sounds crazy, right? But that doesn't mean it's really crazy when we don't understand. I want to understand that. And I want people to understand that. And I just think people should, right, be given the chance to really speak wholeheartedly, not being edited, not being um, not saying what people want you to say, really just speaking your truth. And I think that everybody deserves that. Everybody everybody is valid. Okay. And so for those of us who have been hushed all one too many times throughout our lives, um, I want this platform that has built from these tragedies, from my beautiful family members. Okay. It came at a cost, and their lives paid for it. And really, by extension, I'm paying my own life just by researching this. It's just the truth. I don't get this time back. I don't, yes, we've all aged actually. 5 years, and you look back and your kids are, graduating and they were just starting high school. I mean, the babies are born, my grandmother died on the other side. My dad died. My uncle, I mean, just all these things happen. I've become distant from everybody because I'm just so into learning the truth. And I feel like I've had a time, like there's a deadline, and that is Chad's trial, right? We had Lori's, but you still got to process all these things at the same time too. You're not just hearing it and then just, taking what you will and then moving along to the next case. No, I look at every other case, if I can even let it in. There's a lot of times I can't even let it in. And it's no disrespect to those people, those victims, those families. I can't, what you can allow in and what you cannot handle, it's too much. And I'm telling you that I still have to process all the information once it is dispersed. And then I'm like, oh my God. Then I tried, things pop out. And I'm just like, okay, well, this was said with this. And it just makes more sense with something else. It just more context. And so the more crap, the more people, it's crazy. And it's massive. It's voluminous, if you will. And I mean, I'm not in a hurry. I'm not going to be put in that kind of predicament. Justice, there's what is justice to you? I mean, it's timeless, right? I'll never stop seeking justice through understanding. I think it's very important and necessary for our society and to thrive for our children and our grandchildren and so on. Because they're all that really matters. But anyways, I don't really know where I was going with all that. But so I'm gonna give her a call. I'm gonna give Julie a call. Maybe we can set something up and shed some more light. No, for what it's worth, I think it's worth everything. Tylee, JJ, Charles, Tammy, and Joe. Tammy, oh my gosh, I said them out of order. Tylee, Charles, Tammy, JJ, and Joe. In this story, in my family, in this reality, right? They deserve every bit. They deserve every bit. I think so too, TC. Knowledge is with the patient. Oh, yeah. That's nuts. Well, didn't they ban the Bible, though, in one county? I think. I was like, people fuss me, they're like, well, what good is banning Chad Daybell's book? And I'm like, yeah, that's true. I just don't want him to profit off of it, But I definitely don't want, I don't have say-so about, past books and stuff, but I really am against them writing books and gaining monetarily off of the evil shit they've done. That to me is just like, what? I don't know. I don't know how that works, but the Son of Sam law or whatever. And I never did hear Judge Boy speak to it. Of course, I didn't bring it up personally. Anyways, what was the other thing? I'm trying to think. Chris, has I couldn't get on Facebook. I'm like, no, I can. No, I can. I'm not creating a new damn account. Facebook has been giving me some hell lately, y'all. It's been taking down videos. I'm just like, whatever, whatever. But yet, when I open up my Facebook, there's like hoo-ha's in my face. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't ever go on here enough. Why do they have such explicit shit? But then yet, you talk about abuse and they take it down. You talk about them conspiracy theories, theories. Anyways, it doesn't make sense to me. So I don't even know if I can go here. Let me see something real quick. I just saw an interesting name. Sarah Pulsifer. And it's on that video. Oh, let me share it. That way you can see what I'm doing. Right. So I just saw this and the name. I'm telling you, when I see a name or whatever, it just kind of it's held in my memory. And it takes up all the space that I need to be able to tell a cognitive story, that you can follow along with. But it's a lot of things in my head that I would love to get out, whether via interview, book, writing, just sharing the information any way I can. And I think it would be a lot more easier to understand, if somebody who is organized, who can follow a guideline as to how to tell a story effectively. Effectively is the key word. But anyways, I just saw this name right here, Pulsifer, okay, which is an interesting name because I'll have to share that with y'all Sunday again. Paul Pulsifer. I have a screenshot of him thanking Melanie and Lori on September 7th, 2019. Yep. That was, could have been the day before Kylie was murdered. Who knows how long? We don't know when she was murdered. We don't know how she was murdered. We just know that she was freaking brutally murdered. And I'm going to get pissed off if I explain that in detail. Again, some days are easier. Some days you actually think about it when you say it. And I know what happened to Tylee and the desecration that took place. And I believe it was more than just Chad and Lori and Alex. Nobody can convince me otherwise. I'll take a look at it. Any evidence, I would love to see it. I would love to. But until then, this is where I'm at. But anyway, so Paul Pulsifer, who had Chad Daybell on his podcast I'm going back to July of 2019, 2 days before my Uncle Charles was murdered. It was called Stepping into Freedom. That's the name of the podcast by Paul Pulsifer. P-U-L, it's right here highlighted, P-U-L-S-I-P-H-E-R. And it's interesting because Paul Pulsifer's wife, Colette, she died. She happened to die in 2019. I wonder if this is the George Bush that Chad Daybell refers to in his text to Lori about it worked for, my neighbor and Stan Lee and George Bush, those code names, okay. That's what this is. Smoke and mirrors. They use these names, these code words to basically do it in our face. Okay. It's obvious. Well, anyway, so there's that whole instance where my Uncle Charles was just about to be murdered, and Chad Daybell is a guest on Paul Pulsifer's podcast, Stepping into Freedom. And he was all interested in, Paul Pulsifer was all interested in what Chad Daybell, Jason Mel, Lori, Melanie Gibb, David Warwick, he was so very interested. And one, from what I see, kind of pretty much involved in that circle. Not so much talked about. And it was always, it's just these weird posts, these weird things, these thank you, these thank yous, these, he's showing gratitude publicly on a public platform multiple times, thanking for the, what do you call it? The sanctification. Thank you. Like just these weird, they use religion. Okay. It's their vehicle. It ain't mine. It ain't yours, but it's theirs. They believe it. And that's all that matters. I don't know why they do what they do. That's something, it would be nice to be able to hold these people accountable and ask them for ourselves, but here we are. Anyway, but yeah, it's interesting that Paul Pulsifer's wife, Colette, she died in 2019 also. So, I mean, and then he had a big GoFundMe and everything afterwards. He teaches piano. He's over there in the St. George area. And he teaches piano, which is interesting in the Church of Satan realm of beliefs, okay? The LDS Church of Satan. Sorry, let me correct myself. It's just interesting. Okay, so, but that post about Tylee, I don't have it in front of me, but it was like September 7th, and he tagged Melanie Gibb, and he was like, thank you so much for, what was it? Oh my God. He might have said sacrifice. I'll share it with you guys Sunday. Because I gather all these things, and then, something else pops up, and I'm like, well, I'll just put that on the back burner. We'll deal with that later. And then here we are, on the eve of trial, basically. So I guess I got to log in. Damn it. And here we go again in this little circle dirt. All right. Oh, so Chris had shared some things with me, but let me get to it real quick. Let's see. I'll share this so you can see what the Esalen Institute is all about while I gather some things. I'm so slow.
People ask us a lot about why. Why did we want to have an Esalen? It was to dramatize as well as enable a ongoing exploration of the proposition that the human race and evolution itself is pressing to reveal a greater life for humankind. Every period in human history, if there has been a cultural advance, most of the time, new kinds of institutions have been invented to broker it.
When I first arrived here, there was this interest in taking the idea of self-responsibility a little larger than just this smaller definition of self. It was looking at how can we use the hot springs water to heat the pool. Okay, let's build our own laundry. Let's heat the water using solar. This is when the garden idea expanded to the farm, and we cleared that acreage out there.
Esalen's hallmark, its signature, has been this broad embrace of our common life as a venue, an arena of transcendence and transformation. What people were asking for more and more were experiential programs to experience themselves. So we started in. This is in the early 60s. Some of this was forbidden because psychiatry had a powerful influence on thinking about the further reaches. A lot of the new things were relatively unknown. Take your salt therapy. Fritz Perls had a true streak of clinical genius. From the beginning, his programs were very liberating. But for certain people, he was too much.
So I'm Fritz Perls. I'm working with a new approach in psychiatry called Gestalt therapy, which is one of the existential approaches.
It's like he would x-ray you and look at you. And he was very direct. He was on the cutting edge for a part of the culture there in how you would shape psychological interaction. But he wasn't a nice guy. We had to work out with lawyers what the limits were in something that looks like medical practice, okay? So we framed it, this is education. People are coming down here for personal growth. They might have a phobia about something or a personal problem that would be miraculously liberated during these programs.
Janet Letterman hired me to be a teacher at Gazebo. She set up an environment based upon the principles of Gestalt awareness practice. There is a great deal of potential in children if we give them an environment through which they can make real contact with each other relationally as well as with the environment.
Being outdoors was a really important part of the curriculum. We had goats and a pony and a dog and lots of veggie gardens. They had a lot of confidence and a freedom of expression and a strength and robustness and vitality in their bodies because they were outside and climbing trees and playing in the mud and water. They got to follow their own interest, really gave them a lot of self-trust and the ability to be spontaneous and really alive.
You know, at times I think of Esalen as this cosmic peyote button. I mean, it's just this huge amount of altered state.
The very first workshops are on things like drug-induced mysticism, I think was the phrase.
The world is evolving, and implicit in its very substance is the divine.
In the 70s, you've got Stan Grof living here. He starts out in Czechoslovakia as a classical Freudian psychoanalyst. And he was one of the young medical students to whom they gave LSD to try to imitate a psychosis. And the way Stan tells the story, instead of psychosis, he sees God, basically, and it just flips his world.
This is what they're doing.
He becomes fascinated in LSD research, and Mike invites him out here, and he ends up staying for 14 years. He's interested in, of course, LSD and psychedelics, but they're now illegal. And so he has to develop some other way of getting people into altered states, and he develops this holotropic breath work.
Initially, people were not very happy when I was talking about the research that we have done. They said, well, it's great to hear about these fantastic experiences, but can't we do something? Do you have a little station on the side, I said, I don't have the license here for that, and I don't think Esalen would be very happy. And so I started thinking about, what could we do experientially? So I saw that faster breathing can somehow bring material out of the unconscious to consciousness. And so we started playing with it.
It wasn't even called holotropic breathwork at that point in time. We just laid down on mats and he played this music and we started breathing and talked about our experiences afterwards. I just thought, this is interesting stuff. In retrospect, I realize how lucky I was to be exposed to these master teachers in the way that I was.
That's great. But not at what cost? At what cost?
At Esalen, we invest in these extraordinary programs. We bring in academics and scientists on the topics that we think are the most important in the entire world and that align with our big vision and the questions that people seem to continually want to answer but have no answers.
Liza. Oh, let me move that. Yeah, David Hamblin's.
The future is filled with new states of consciousness. And we are involved in that.
Hey, Tom Harrison. Hey, gurus here. David Levitt's wife, soon to be ex-wife, works here. Okay. She's a transhumanist. She worked for BYU. She moved to a
So
Catholic
another
school.
question is, what do we do in our second 6 years? How do we keep adapting? Deep, deep down, this world wants to deliver a higher and better humanity. Humans are at the cutting edge now of the evolutionary adventure. And we are pressing, often struggling, sometimes celebrating this joy and power that's latent in us.
Okay. So while we were doing that, well, where is it? I found that post real quick. But the Esalen Institute is important to know about and to learn about because there's a lot of people in this same inverted thinking, okay? These second comers, these accelerationalists, these bringers of the second great awakening, or whatever you want to call it, whatever term you've heard it as, the NWO. I got to be careful because, we're censored. And again, I'll get shadow banned and not offered up, in anybody's algorithm, because that's how they suppress the truth, in my opinion. Okay. And anyways, it's very important because there's people like, in the case, the quote unquote satanic panic, okay, of David Hamlin, Gordon Bowen, these people that have been named in. First, how I found out was through Lynn Packer. Okay. Lynn Packer is an ex-Mormon. His uncle is Boyd K. Packer. Okay. Who was always in the company of the likes of Gordon Bowen, who has been named in the victim statements by the Hamblin daughters, the Hamblin sisters, the quote unquote satanic panic people, right? The conspiracy theories. The abuse did not happen because it's so wild. How can something so wild and so egregious, that can't be true? So we're going to label it, right? And that's freaking pathetic. I almost cussed. I'm sorry. It's freaking pathetic. And we should be ashamed of ourselves, honestly. Anyways, if that was you trying to come forward with your truth, your reality of being abused, if you live to tell, that's if you live to tell, only to be met with unbelief, shaming, straight up being attacked, nobody believing you, the greater masses of the people not even believing what you're saying, and not only that, but then elevating the abusers, okay, as if they're some god or some idol, or I don't know. It's the weirdest. It's one of the weirdest things to actually see in all this. But it's important. And I don't have it right now verbatim, of course, because I want to tell you about it. But it basically connects all these people that surround Chad and Lori Daybell. In this case of Chad and Lori Daybell is current. It is right the frick now. Okay. The time is now, so to speak. I would love to really have it to where I could just be so effective in telling you exactly what it is, how I see it in my head, like how it is in my head. I'm just like, oh my God. But to effectively and I don't even have the whole picture yet, but basically from what I've learned, this is just my take on everything, is that the Central Intelligence Agency, the letter agency, is really behind a lot of these quote unquote, what do they call them? Doomsday or destructive cults. Okay. which is fascinating. Because, like, we're here, I'm speaking for myself. I'm here and I'm like, okay, like Charles Manson, like that kind of cult. When this first happened, when I first heard cult, and I was like, what? My aunt is part of a what? And I mean, I didn't know. I was ignorant. And I told Larry, I remember telling Larry, and this stuck with me because of how he reacted when I said it. And I was like Charles Manson, and he was like, yeah. And I was like, well, he didn't kill anybody. I mean, really? I had no right to even speak to that. Okay, first off, I was wrong because I had no idea how these things actually work, what goes into it, what kind of thinking. And so we've analyzed the shit out of these cults, these cult leaders. Okay, Chad is a so-called cult leader, right? Or is he? I've questioned this the entire time. I've never, I mean, I've, yes, there's things in his writing and Chad's writing and speeches he's made. There is this element of a cult, a quote unquote cult leader. He's got those elements. But then if you just compare his behaviors, his speeches, his writings to David Warwick, people of like mind, Jason Mao, Tom Harrison, John Pontius. I mean, just name them. Michelle McDermott, Julie Rowe, all these people. And I mean, I've even bought books from the Deseret Industries while I was in Boise. You read those books, they all spew the same thing. So I don't see where I see the destruction. I feel the destruction. That's part of this aftermath that I'm involved in. Okay, picking up the pieces and trying to figure out what and why and how and who and when and all that shit. Okay, but and trying to make sense of it and trying to bring a place, trying to bring the truth of the victim stories to light, because I mean, until they actually are brought to light, what justice is there? Okay, you don't get it with, in my opinion, my view. Whenever that gavel slammed down and Lori was convicted and received all those life sentences and yada yada yada, I wasn't like, oh, okay, good, yeah, and everything's better. No, it does not end there. I know it ends for a lot of people there. It does not ever end. Okay, that is the reality of it. Anyways, so I mean, this is forever going to be an evolving thing, and I think with more time comes more information, comes more, unfortunately, more cases, more Spring Thibodeau, more Blaze, the Blaze Thibodeau, more Ruby Frankies, more Jody Hildebrands, more Jesse Hildebrands, more Adam Steed, more and more victims, more Hamblin victims, the Lost Boys, I mean, it's endless. Okay, it's endless. The victims, they keep them coming. Okay, why, how, who, what? We need to answer all these questions, and it's part of this Esalen Institute. It's part of why anybody who's researched the case of Tim Ballard, and that, which is the same movement, it's the same freaking hub, it's the same people, it's the same everything. Okay, so I'm sorry. So it's like, first off, how do you separate Chad and Lori from Ruby and Jody? Tim, especially Tim, they spoke together, the same damn events. Okay, they crossed paths. Tom Harrison, alleged guru for Tim Ballard, and he allegedly, Tom Harrison can rate people, missionaries, and tell them whether they're light or dark. And allegedly, some of his patients have come forward with these kind of statements. I mean, if anything, I say there's a lot of evidence that Tom Harrison could potentially be, a guru, a quote unquote, cult leader. I don't see it in Chad. There's somebody that they're learning this from who's teaching it. Why are they teaching it? Why are the government letter agencies, why are they all up in these destructive cults? Why? And why are these far out freaking outlandish, bizarre religious rabbit holes? Why is that prevalent? And then why is there nothing but victims in the wake? Okay. My family is part of that, unfortunately. And so, yeah, if I look at it like this, it's like me against the literal world. That's what it feels like. Where do you go for help with this? Where do you go to prove this or disprove this? Where do you go to find out why our government would want to be part of these experiments? Okay, that's what this is to them. I'm assuming, because I have to, because they're not like, hey girl, that'll be unsealed in about 30 years, okay? And then, every conspiracy theory that has been labeled just that will then become a reality. Oh, wow. Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm glad okay, good. They all had the same thing in common. They like the prestige of being known and admired by many because when they are, they then focus on the money. Julie Rowe had asked my friend to deed her property. So did Chad, right? But I mean, who's leading Chad? Who's leading Julie? Who's leading? I mean, if your guru is arrested, that's where I'm like, well, there's a lot of people with the same kind of beliefs. So where are they getting their feed? Where are they getting their ideas? Yeah. Right, little brands? The power of belief, a tool for good or evil. Oh, right. Right. Yeah, I agree. Moonlight View says, beware of greedy leaders who take you where they take you. Who take you where they take you, where you should not go. Right? Listen to your gut. Right? We're always told to not listen to that. Follow the facts, follow the evidence. Well, it's a system and they work together, in my opinion. So when your gut tells you, I don't think so, ask questions. It's okay. It might get you kicked out of something and you'll probably be glad. Yeah. Oh, what the heck? Told me I was born in 1945, my name, how I died. What a head mess. Yeah, and so I've been looking into like the Scientology cases, and it's the same thing. It's the same past lives, past wives, astral projection, portaling. Okay, that's my understanding. I think this astral projection, these outer body experiences that some could be by near-death experiences. I at least used to think so. But it explains to me like the rhetoric I hear from Chad Daybell when he's like, you just can't push. It's not that easy to push a spirit out of a body. Oh my God. I've got to pull this stuff together. It's so hard because it's so massive. The information is everywhere. Okay. Now I'm just like ding, ding, ding. And it's so much. And I just want to share it with every one of you because I want to know what you think. I want to know if this is making sense for you or if I should just be like, girl, okay, come on now. you know, I need feedback and I value your opinions and just what you think and from your experiences and everything. I think that the human experience and us sharing it is so important, You can't put a price tag on that. But anyways, it's just I don't know. My worldview gets pew pew pewed all the time. It's just like, oh, okay, you like that? Oh, well, we're gonna take that away from you too. You know, but this is connected to Janet Russin, however you want to say it, and her psychic abilities. Okay. Sean Reyes believes in her psychic abilities. He was aware. Tim Ballard was aware. Catherine Ballard was aware. And then it's so crazy. It's actually funny because whenever all that stuff came out in the Blaze media articles and the Vice News articles of Janet Russin channeling the old dead prophet Nephi, if there ever was such a thing. Okay. And then she goes on this little hillbilly channel. Okay. Literally a tiny little channel. It had 4,500 views, but it made the front headlines of the Salt Lake Tribune. Her statement saying, it wasn't, I was not channeling the dead ancient prophet Nephi. Oh my God, silly willies. I was channeling Tim Ballard's great grandfather. What's his name? Nephi Anderson. Okay. That made the front headlines, y'all. From a YouTube channel. Blows my mind. Blows my ever-loving mind. Okay. How many headlines can you think of? How many pressing issues can you think of that? But that's what took the headlines. Janet Russin. Okay. And, again, I'm learning new things about this. Yeah. SD Hester. Definitely. It all comes down to money and power. They get classified as a religion. Oh, and then 501c3s, yo. Under the guise of doing good, do-gooders and, Christ worshipers, but they're not. They're not. No. They change their definitions. They manipulate. Again, they exploit everything. Everything good. I mean, they will find a loophole in it. I think that's why they adhere to the Constitution. I think that's why we have this theocratic society where you don't know where church begins and and religion. I mean, the law. There's no separation of church and state. It's an epiphany or it's a myth. Not in this. No, not in Utah. Not in Idaho. And probably not in Arizona. Just haven't had my fill of that yet. But all these, and they're tied to such important people. Like Tim Ballard serves on a board. Henry Kissinger just freaking died. Okay. Same, another nonprofit, right? So I was to a point where I was like, okay, ain't no way Tim Ballard works for the damn CIA. Ain't no way. Oh my God, he lied. And then I'm like, or did he? Did he just lie about his role? Because he seems to be, he's over there fishing and shit with, I'm sorry for my French, but he's over there on a boat in freaking Ukraine where, his buddy goes, David Levitt. Okay. Viktor Yushchenko. They don't just deal with peasants, y'all. They deal with these top leaders, the president of Mexico, England. You just take your pick. Okay. They've been there, done that. I don't know. The question, the affiliations are strong, and they all seem to suffer from all these elitists or whatever you want to call them, Satanists, opportunists, exploiters. They all have the same thing in common when it comes to this element, and it is that they, for the most part, get away with basically murder and hella abuse. And Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein Islands. Tony Robbins has an island. Did y'all know that? Just imagine. And where are the victims? Where are these alleged rescued victims that Tim purportedly touts about, that you pay for, that you got duped in the worst sense possible. I can't imagine. But it's okay. It's no shade on you. You did what you thought was right. It's on them. They're the abusers. We're not. Okay? But we cannot allow that to continue. We've got to expose, educate ourselves, and expose. It's easy peasy. Right. Okay, Rhonda says exactly. You don't separate them. How long would it have been until one or more of the Frankie kids was unalived? I think it was just due process. It was part of the process. Speaking of the process, oh my God, there's just so many. Like my head's literally like feels like electrical shocks in there because it's like ping, ping, ping. But I don't know enough about them to speak to all these other affiliations. And I mean, come on, guys, we're not dumb. And we're not, the world is not this complicated. We complicate it. Other people complicate it. And we have to deal around all their complications, right? We're like, what? And really, we need to realize that our intuition and our discernment, our own discernment, not listening to the masses out there, relying on just, those things that make you question things, those things that make you go, right? Sorry. Trust those. Trust your instinct, okay? We're not getting out of this alive, okay? And you're not going to bring your church members with you. You're not going to be able to bring your club members with you, your friends, even your husband or your wife or you know what I mean? You're not going to be able to bring anybody with you when you die, okay? It's just going to be you and me, not together. But anyways, so rely on yourself. And be careful who you put your trust into. Don't put it in the arms of flesh or whatever. Look at their fruits. Where are these alleged victims that Tim Ballard touted? Tom Harrison, a licensed freaking counselor, therapist, not anymore, but he's still touting it. Tim Ballard would go in. He said Tom Harrison would go in and fix the brains. He was a brain specialist. Okay, where are these alleged victims that Tim is using Tom Harrison's name to validate his research into service and all these wonderful freaking hormones and pheromones and all these good things, serotonin, oxytocin from service? I'm like, yeah, you're not talking about service, boo. You ain't talking about service. Yourself, right? It's never about what they're talking about. They're not ever saying it in good the way they're saying it, it's not ever about the victims. They talk that way. They're talking about themselves. It's a projection thing, and it's so freaking obvious. I don't know. I feel like I got inverted somewhere too, and I'm like, I can't see the light side anymore. I'm just like, dark. There's a dark. There's a dark. They're all dark. Yeah, there you go. That's a good one, Joe Field. Rely on your own integrity. Yeah. And stand by it too. Stand by it. Don't be scared. And don't be scared too. I'm not scared. And I'm not above criticism. I'm not above somebody saying, hey, girl, you ain't got the whole picture. Here's this. Let me know what you think, And I mean, there is no, do not rely on me. I'm just trying to share my experience with you, my journey. And it is just that. It's a freaking journey. But it's the most important journey I've ever felt so driven about. So driven. I mean, good God. all the times, that I've just been worn out and worn thin and just like, what am I even doing here? Okay. It's not even a popular opinion. It's just like, and it's a slap in the face also. It's also hurtful because everybody in my family, for the most part, everybody in other people's families involved in this have been asked, have been approached to tell their view on things. And I'm just like, I'm like, that's all I do is this, and nothing. So it is what it is. And I mean, whatever. I'm just here, and if that is meant for me, then that'll happen. If not, it's okay too. I don't see where I'm going with this. How can I make this effective? How can I make this with purpose, like, I don't know. If I'm going at this rate is what I'm saying, I'm going to be here for a very long time. So hunker down. Right. Oh, thank you, Moonlight View. And yours too, honey. I think so. I think we all have a piece of this. We really do. Some of us are like, what do we do with this? What do we do with this piece? I don't like this piece, right? But together, I think that when it's all said and done, at the end of the day, at the end of my life, when I take my last breath, it will have all been worth it. And it'll just, as long as I did everything with the, with what my uncle spoke whenever he emailed his attorney and was like calling off his divorce from Lori. And he said, "What can I say, Taylor? Love always wins." Says the dead guy, right? Or the soon to be dead guy. And that guy is my uncle. I miss him and I love him. And his life, his death has brought so much purpose to my own life. It's hard, but his integrity, right? And anyways, it's his death, his murder, that is what woke me up. It said, "Hey girl," and it snapped me into this alternate I say alternate reality, but it's reality. I just chose to, it was a non-issue. It didn't bother me. All these things did not affect my daily life, but they do. You just don't know that yet. And actually there's less anxiety when when you kind of figure out what's going on, what drives people, why are they doing this? What is their end game? That's a main question I ask all the time. What in the F is their end game? Why are we here? And why are they doing that? And it answers a lot of things when you look at it in that perspective. It's not to cast judgment. It's just to be aware. It's just to share your knowledge, share your experience with other people. They can do with it what they will. You shared it. You may be wrong. You may be half wrong. You may be whatever the case. I just think it's probably, it's one way that information cannot be controlled, in the sense of, shutting off the internet, or, what do we do when they're working on the damn towers for the internet? I'm like, God dang it. And it just slows everything down. But that's all it does, is it slows things down. It ain't gonna stop us though. You're gonna have to put me under the ground, okay, to shut me up. That is not a challenge. Oh, Rombo says the missionaries rang my doorbell at 21:30 while I was having a bath. Right. Ye don't go opening doors at that time here on a Saturday evening. Instant demand to come into my home. It did not work out well. Right. Yeah. Hurt people. Life extension is one of their in-game celebration. Oh yeah, they're scared to die. That's a narcissist, right? They're just so self-important. That's what I'm getting from that statement. Chad Daybell, scared to death of death, works in a cemetery around death. It's obviously an alleged facilitator of death, right? And he's on death row. There's a big theme going on here. Anyways, I've kept you guys long enough. I really thank y'all for being here. I know this always turns into something bigger, and some people think it's irrelevant, and that's okay. But to those of you who are out there seeking and you're trying to make sense of it all, know that you're not alone. And I think that's where we really bond, in the sense that none of us know what's really going on. We are not Christ. We are not prophets. We are not seers, revelators, all those things, okay? We don't need people to tell us things. But we've been kind of conditioned that way, right? To not rely on our own selves, and I think that is one way that we've forfeited power. We've forfeited our own free will without even knowing, just being born, you're just born into this world, and you're like, oh, there's all these conditions, okay? Yes, Miss Jackie. Yes, totally. They think death is for everyone else and not them. Height of arrogance. Amen, sister. Right? Good for thee, but not for me. That's purported. That's the mainstream belief. But again, I'm learning that these letter agencies and, the CIA agencies, Central Intelligence agencies, I'm sure I'm flying up on their little radars right now, but they seem to be heavily involved in or these doctors, the Henry Kissingers, the John C. Lillys. Yeah. Anyways, it's so crazy. I don't have a good handle on it yet, so I don't want to sit here and just spit or spew misinformation. I know I probably do a great deal of it by myself without even knowing, just talking ignorantly. But I just, what do they want, and why are they experimenting with people? Well, and then where do they go when these things are being investigated? Where do they go? Where do they go? And why? And why are they protected? Anyways, just some things to just question. But anyways, I love you guys. Justice for, okay, hold on. Dr. Bruce Damer won't shut up about how he hangs out with the Department of Defense. They love to tout their own. They do. They can't help it. They're just like, they can't hold it in. That's at least the silver lining in that, is just like, oh, okay. They suck at holding information about their own crimes that are right there in our faces anyway. So it's for us to discern, and for us to learn, and then for us to expose. Moonlight View says, and remember, it's okay to doubt. Oh yeah, it's normal. It's normal. Oh, where'd you go? And remember, it's okay to doubt. God didn't give us intellect to be a pushover. Right? If I could give you a prize, I would. Thank you. Anyways, justice for Tylee, Charles, Tammy, JJ, and Joe. And love always wins. You guys are always proof of this. Bye.